So, The War Within is coming out soon. I think at the end of this month. And, like, you know, the old addict that I am, I admit I'm a little tempted to give it a try. You know, I started playing WoW when I was a teenager, you know, and playing through vanilla and playing through BC and Wrath as a kid, playing with my friends. It was really, really great. And I have such wonderful memories, just like getting the guys together and running Mythic Plus and having all this fun. I have so many good memories of WoW, and it, you know, since I played it for so long and I started when I was just a teenager, it'll always have a special place in my heart. So I'm tempted, you know, and they're really trying to push the story aspect, and it looks like they're trying to kind of continue where they left off from Legion. And honestly, Legion is probably my favorite expansion, so I'm tempted. But then the realist in me admits that it's probably not going to be very good. And the reason for that is, so for one, they're really pushing the story, and that makes me really happy, because even though they've always had bad story, I've always liked it, you know? But if I wanted to play for the story, I just remember, like, what is actually going to happen? Launch is going to happen. Everyone's going to be super excited. The launch is happening. Everything's new. And we'll get a little bit of story, but we'll be nowhere near any kind of conclusion. You know, we won't get really any kind of conclusion until the expansion's over in 2 years. And this is one of a 3-part story. So actually, we're not going to get a real conclusion until like 5 or 6 years. So if I'm invested in the story, there's not really any point of me playing now, because I'm just going to get like the introduction to the story, like the introduction of the introduction of the story. So there's nothing really to do there. Like a good example would be, like, I played for like a month in the beginning of Dragonflight, and there was a few story beats that I was really interested in. But then, like, I completed all of the main story quests that was at launch, and it was nothing. Like, they just stopped in the middle of the story. I'm like, oh. And like, yeah, it gets kind of continued in the raid, but even that wasn't really a conclusion. And you know, I even though I stopped playing, I still kind of kept up with it a little bit. And at the end of Dragonflight, is there really like a satisfying conclusion to anything? No, there's not. So there's not really any reason to play for story, because there's not going to be any conclusion for 5 or 6 years. And you might say, oh, I should play after that 5 or 6 years when all of it's over. But playing through the story like that, in WoW terms, is a mess. Trying to play through the story of a previous expansion just doesn't work in WoW terms. Like, all the quests everywhere just become a muddled mess, and it's just not satisfying. So if I'm not playing for the story, I would have to play for the gameplay. And even though I have such wonderful memories of doing Mythic Plus with my friends night after night, and I've just kind of lost interest in Mythic Plus. Kind of like the way that the gameplay for Mythic Plus has kind of evolved over time. I just not interested in it. And raiding, I just prefer raiding in Final Fantasy. That I feel way more satisfaction doing Savage and Ultimates in Final Fantasy. This is the best time. The most satisfying raid kills I've ever got have been doing Ultimates in Final Fantasy. It's just so much better. And I'm definitely not interested in PvP. If I want a PvP, I'm gonna play a different game. I'm not. There's better PvP experiences in other games than in MMOs. So there's really no reason for me to come back for gameplay either. Maybe delves have my interest a little bit. They sound like they could be interesting, but they've promised big gameplay features in the past that have just completely flopped. Like, what was it? The Warfronts that were just like a nothing, and Torghast, which was, even though to this day I think Torghast had an amazing potential to be incredible, but they just flubbed it so spectacularly. So if there's no reason for playing for gameplay, there's not really any reason for playing for story, I just can't see myself coming back, even though there's that small part of me that's, you know, that teenage version of me that still is a little bit addicted. Like, I'm still a little bit tempted, you know? I'm gonna have to really see. I have some friends that are gonna play, they can tell me. But it's like, maybe if I have like a 4 other friends that just want me to play and do a few Mythic Pluses every now and then, maybe I would come back. But as it is, like, even though I'm really tempted, I think what I want out of gaming has changed. And I think what WoW is offering has also changed. And I don't think those two things are compatible. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to be super wonderful. But I think the right choice for me is to wait and see. Because if it's just more of the same, I just don't see the point. Tell me what you think below. I feel like there's a lot of people like me that have just changed and are just not interested in it. I'm interested in now. Let me know below.